Good morning once again. So it's 10:05 and we want to make the time count. So we are going to start now. We are going to talk about how you can use your idea data analytics tool to download and import files from different sources and of different formats. The person who is going to take you on this enjoyable ride, his name is Mr. Victor Serike, and he's one of our professional consultants. He has worked in various organizations, helping them to maximize the use of the software, your idea data analytics. So please, I'm going to hand over to him. We encourage you to have as interactive a session with us, meaning that even as we are going through the webinar, if you have any feedback, if you have any questions, please feel free to share them with us. In the meantime, I'll hand you over now to Victor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Good morning, everybody. I want to believe you cannot hear me. So please, if you can hear me, can you just let me know?
Yes.
Okay, so we can now officially start. Now, one major challenge people encounter is the limitation posed by data type. And so they want to carry out data analysis, but then the challenge comes. And so as a result of that, most times you have them having to convert from one data format to another. So you might have someone converting from PDF into Excel before they can carry out the analysis. And so this has been like a major challenge. So this morning, we just in this webinar, we'll be looking at how we can bring in files of various formats, whether it's Excel, whether it's PDF, whether it's Access, whether it's from a database, and that's what we'll be looking at. So quickly, I'll just want to give us a rundown of the various formats we'll be bringing in. We'll be bringing in files, Excel files. We'll also be bringing in print report files, as well as PDF files, and then we'll be connecting to a database to get files for our analysis. So at this point, please permit me to just switch off my camera, turn off my camera and share my screen so that we could now go through and start our journey. Okay, so this is the idea analytics software. For those of us that have it already, we are conversant with this interface already. And then we'll go down to the home. In the home tab, you have other tabs, but then to bring in data, you use your import. So by the time we click on import, it brings up an interface with various degrees, with various file formats that we can make use of. So please just permit me. So like I said, we were bringing in Excel files, we were bringing in CSV files, that's comma separated files. We'll also be bringing in PDF files, print report files. We'll be connecting to a database to pull out data as well for our analysis. So like I said, we'll go to the home, and then once you click on your import, this comes up. So just please give me a minute. Oh, okay. Yes. Okay, so that should come up now. It's usually not as slow. Okay, so we have this here. And then since we said we have various formats here listed on this part, you have your ACL, Advanced Record Definition Editor, Audit File, Caseware Accounting Packages, Caseware Working Paper, Microsoft Access. But I said first we are bringing in an Excel file. So what you do is you click on Microsoft Excel. Now, where you have this file name by the right, you have three dots by the side. So you click on the three dots, and once you click on the three dots, what it does is that it opens up your file explorer that allows you to select the file you want to import into IDEA. So with that opened, we now select the file we want. Oh, with that opened, we can now select the file we want to bring in. So please just give me a minute. Okay, so selected file sales transaction. When you click open, it brings you back to this point. Now you click on the next button. So by the time you click on the next button, it brings up your Excel editor. What this does is that it shows you a preview of the information that is contained in that file you have selected. So as we can see here, it shows us a preview of the information that is contained in this file. Now, if you observe at this point, this first checkbox, first row is field names, is ticked. So what this means is that this first row here at this point, that's these ones actually contain the field names. So in a case where you have a data and the first row is not the field name, you will have to uncheck this box. And then the second option here saying import empty numeric cells as 0, it simply means that where you're supposed to have numeric data, and then for that cell it is empty, automatically fill it with 0. So in this case, we'll click on OK and then we'll proceed. So once we've clicked on OK, it would load the data and bring it into IDEA. So now would just a minute. Okay, so now we have data. So we've eventually brought it into IDEA. Now based on this, you can now begin to carry out your analysis. So what we've just successfully done is to bring in this data that was in Excel format into IDEA for analysis. So basically what we are looking at today is how to bring in these various data types into IDEA for your analysis, irrespective of their format. So the next we'll be looking at now is your CSV file. Now your CSV file is somewhat related to your Excel, but the major difference is that while you have your Excel information in rows and columns, for your CSV, they are separated by comma, and that's what CSV stands for, comma separated values. It means that the values in your columns, in your rows, are separated by commas. So we'll be bringing that in now, and we'll be seeing how to do that. So to do that, we'll click on Home and click on Import. So once we click on Import, it will still bring up that interface that would allow us to select the file we want to bring in. Okay, so if you observe here, so we'll leave it on text, and then like we said the other time, the three dots by the side, we select it. Now the file we want is this supplier details file, and then we'll click open. Then you click on next. Now, what this does, this particular interface now shows us, it gives us a preview of the information there. So like you can observe now, if you see on this first row, you have a number followed by a comma before the name of the firm, followed by a comma and the country. So this tells us that, oh, this information here contained in this file are separated by comma. But then, for you to be able to carry out analysis properly on this, we wouldn't need these commas and what have you, because we need the numbers to stand on their own. We need the names to stand on their own. We need the countries to stand on their own. So we'll click on next. And now, if you observe here, by default, comma is highlighted, saying that tells us that, oh, the information here were actually separated by a comma. So it's possible that you could have the information separated by a colon, by semicolon, by tab, by space, or other values such as a pipe. So this tells us that it's separated by a comma. Now, if you also observe, by default, if you can see my mouse, this checkbox here is ticked, which stands for first visible row is field name. So it's assuming that the first row, that's this row here, is the field name. But then we see that, oh, this next row is number 2. So that means there's information here that we need, and that means it is not the field name. So what do? We uncheck this box. And so once we uncheck this box, we have the first information there showing back or appearing back. So the next thing we do is to click on next. Now, because there was no field name, automatically it brings us to this point where we would have to rename the fields, assign a field name to it, so that there would now be a field name to this information, like a header. So this we could now say, okay, this is supplier number. Now by default, the type is numeric, meaning numbers. So we come to the next, and then we name this as, okay, supplier name. And by default, it is, the type is character because it contains letters. So we'll come down to this third field, and then we'll name this as supplier country. By default, it is character because they are letters. So you click on the next button. Now this next here says create field. So if you want to create additional fields, in addition to those ones that are there, you make use of this, give it a field name, specify the type, and every other information you need there. But we are not adding any more fields to it, so we click on next. Now this point allows you to add an equation. Sorry. Assuming you want to add an equation or a formula to it, to say, okay, if this is this, do this, if this is this, do this, then this is where you get to add that equation or formula. But in this case, we are not adding any equation or any formula, so we'll just click on next. Now at this point, you could also rename your database name or leave it like this. So we'll leave it like this, and then we'll click on finish. So once I click on finish, it will load it in and then bring it in. So just a minute while it does that. Okay, so it's loading it in, and there we have our data. So now we've brought this into IDEA, we can now begin to carry out our analysis. So the first step is to eventually or to successfully bring in your data before you can carry out your analysis. Because if you have to carry out analysis, then you need to have your data brought into the IDEA interface for you to be able to carry out your analysis. So the next file we'll be bringing in is a print report file. Now, the print report file is not common, it's not popular, but it's actually a file format that actually exists. So we're looking at that. So to do that, we'll go to the Home tab, and then we'll click on Import. Okay, so while that comes up, and then like we saw with the other ones, it will first bring up this interface that allows you to select the format. So the format we'll select print report and Adobe PDF. So that means you could also bring in PDF as well. We'll look at that next, how to bring in a PDF file as well. But we'll start off with the print report. So we'll select this file. Now, if you observe, this is a print report file. See the extension .pron. .pron. So that's the extension for print report files. For Excel, the extension is .xls or .xslx. For PDF, the extension is .pdf. For Access is .accd. Then for print report is .pron. So now that I've selected the file, we'll click on Next. For the print report and for your PDF, it's slightly different because unlike the other ones we brought in, unlike your CSV and Excel, that it just shows you a preview and then you could just bring it in. But for this one, the first thing it does is that once you've selected your file and you click on Next, it takes you to the report reader. Now, in the report reader, first, it shows you the information contained there, and then it also allows you to select the specific information you need. So let's look at this together. So if you can see, this is more like an account statement. Please, can you all see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, thank you. So if you observe here, you have a lot of information here, the time, the date, accrual basis. So this tells that this is more of an account information. So you have so many information here, but then it's not everything here you might need for your analysis. So that's why the first thing for your print reader, it brings up this report reader that now allows you to specify the particular information you need. So how do we now get to specify the kind of information we need from this, or which ones do we need to exclude other ones? So the first thing we do is to create what is known as a standard layer. And how do you do that? Highlight the first relevant information there. Once this is highlighted, you have this that says, what would you like to do with the sample line? Yes, create a standard layer. So we click on yes. We can think of the standard layer like a foundation. So you want to build a house. Of course, there must be a foundation for you to build the structure on. So the standard layer is like that base on which we now build every other information. So now we've selected this. The next thing we'll do is to set a trap. Now, what is the trap? The trap is more like, say, it's a condition or an instruction, a feature that allows you give an instruction to say, select only information or data that contains or that meets this condition. Now for traps, there are various types of trap. There's the numeric trap. So you use the numeric trap to say, select, or there's the text trap that is used for characters or alphanumeric. You have your space trap to say, when you use your space trap, you're saying, okay, select those information that contains space. And then you have your non-blank trap. So this one is saying, select those informations that are not blank. So we want to select a relevant information. And so we'll come to this point right above this date here, this 2020. So I come above this two and I click on it. And I click on my numeric trap because 2 is a number. So if you observe, every information that has a number at this point is highlighted, including this accrual basis. But then I don't need this. So please confirm if you can see this on your screen. So please, if you can see it on your screen, just let me know. You could just either unmute and say you could see it, or in the chat box, just type I can see it, please. So I would know we're on the same page. Hello, please, can you see my screen? Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. So in this case now, if you observe, we get to scroll basis January through December is also highlighted, but we don't need this particular line for analysis. So what do? I come here after this first one and I click on a numeric trap and I continue as well, followed by an hyphen. So with this, you're saying only select those information that has 4 numbers at this point, followed by an hyphen. So if I scroll down, you get to see that just those informations that have 4 numbers followed by an hyphen at this point are highlighted. So now that I've done that, the next thing I now need to do is to begin to define my fields. So how do I do that? I come to this point and I highlight it. I make use of my up arrow key to increase the width of the highlights. So now I've selected all this. If you observe by the right, under field information, you see the name. So I come here and I name this as transaction number. Transaction number. So this says that, oh, this is a transaction number. What type is it? Numeric, because they are numbers. Decimals, are there decimals? No, it's not decimals. So that's why you have decimals 0. Now, if you observe blank cells, where you have a blank cell there, what do you want it to do? So we say leave blanks, meaning if there's a blank cell, leave it blank. So we'll do the same. We'll click on the first letter, it highlights it, and then use your up arrow key to select. So with this, now I can come here, I come to the right, name, and I could name this as type. So what type of transaction is it? Is it check? Is it deposit? Is it transfer? So type as well. And then I come to the next one here and I click on this two and I highlight it. Now, if you observe for the check, I highlighted more than the check, like the first one. But since this is a date, we must be specific. We mustn't highlight more than what you have there. So I come here to the right, field details, the name, and I rename this as date. Type, once I click on it, there's a drop down there, and I select date. Now, if you observe, as soon as I select the date, the mask became active. So what does this mean? It says specify how the date is written. So I type YYY, meaning year, 4 letters for the year, MM for the month, 2 letters for the month. So that's what you have there. And then I come here as well and I highlight this. But now if you observe, some of them are not highlighted. So I use my up arrow key to increase the width to ensure that virtually everything is covered. And so I come here and I name this number, transaction number. Oh, this was the first transaction that was carried out. This was the second, the third, the fourth, and what have you. Numeric data type, yes, numeric. So the next, I come here as well. I highlight this and I come here as well. So this is name. So the transaction, okay, this was the name attached to the transaction. Then if you observe, here is blank, but you have information. So I come here and I click on it and I highlight, increase it using my up arrow key. So I name this as memo, which is more like a description of the transaction. Now I come here as well and I highlight this. But now if you observe where this is starting from, you have some information that are left behind. So I need to move my cursor backwards for it to be able to highlight everything. And how do I do this? I use my left arrow key. So now it's starting from this, and then I use my up arrow key to increase the width. And I name this as, what type is it? It's numeric. Are there decimals? Yes, this has decimals. How many decimal places? 2 decimal places. So I make use of my up arrow key and 2 is selected. So we have this selected. Now we'll go to the next field here and then we highlight this as well. So at this point, we'll name this as credit. It's numeric, yes. Is it the decimals? Yes. How many decimal places? There are 2 decimal places. Because if you observe, you have 2 decimal places after your decimal point here. So 2 decimal places. Now that we have this, the next thing we do is to you're building on. So if I click on this save layer, it saves it. Now it doesn't just end there. I could preview to see how this information will look like if when I'm eventually done and I bring it into IDEA. So if I click on the preview, that's this icon that looks like an eye. The icon that looks like an eye, it will load up the preview pane and bring it in. So just give me. Okay, so like you can see now, that if you can see the screen currently, what you have here is your preview page. So you can see how it will look like: transaction number, the type, the date, the name, and like the number. What this transaction, what number was it? Was it the first transaction that was carried out? The name, the memo, the debit, and the credit. But then we are not just done. I just wanted us to see this. Now that we have that, there's a feature here that allows us to be sure we've done virtually all we need to do. Yes, we set, don't forget, initially we set a trap that says, or that specify that only pick or highlight those information that meets this condition I've set with the trap. So now to be sure that we've picked up the relevant information and no figure or no value is left out, we can scan for errors. And how do we scan for error? We use this icon that looks like a warning sign. So if you click on it, it is to search through a hole and it will point out where you have an error. So on the field where you have an error, the field would become orange, peach colored, and then the particular line where you have the error will be highlighted in deep blue, like you have this now. So it's telling me that, oh, the number of the field of the width of the field number does not appear to be correct because I've left out, this is not fully covered. So what do? I need to increase the field width. And how do I do that? I just increase it here with the up arrow on the field width, and then I click on change. It will search and go to where I have the next arrow and point it out to me. So now if you observe, this is being highlighted in the blue here. So it's telling me that, oh, I didn't select this entire information. So what do? I increase the field width to cover or select the entire information. So I do that by using the up arrow and I click on change. Now it also points out something. When I was defining the type of field, I said this is a numeric field. But now if you observe, this is an alphanumeric value here containing both letters and numbers, but the numeric data type is strictly for numbers. So it's suggesting that, oh, for it not to be reading as error, for that particular line not to be reading as error when I bring it into IDEA, I need to change the number field from a numeric type to a character type. So once I click on change, it changes it, and then it also searches for the next error. Oh, at this point it's saying that I didn't fully cover this information. So what do? I can now increase my width size and click on change. Oh, exactly, pointing to where I have the next error. So that's the beauty of the scan for error, in that you can check to be sure that you've covered everything. So now that we've effected all the changes, if you can see the screen, you see it shows that validation is complete. No more errors were found. So I click on OK. So now I have that information. Albeit there's still another information here that I want to pick that seems relevant, because if you observe, it's as though all these transactions were brought into subcategories. First, you have the check-ins, and under check-ins, you have all these transactions. And then you have amount receivables, and then you have all these transactions. That's all these transactions under amount receivables. Then you have undeposited funds, and you have all these transactions there. So we also need to bring these subcategories heading as well. And how do we do that? So to do that, like we did for the other ones, we'll create another layer, a standard layer, and then we'll click on yes. So once you click on yes, it brings this in, and then we'll set a trap. So don't forget, we said the trap is what is like that information that gives it to say, that specifies which particular information on this document should be brought into IDEA for your analysis. So if we observe, you have spaces before the word check-in. So from this very beginning, I'll make use of the space trap, and so you see, as soon as I clicked on the space trap, you observe that virtually everyone that has a space at this point was highlighted. But then I'll use the space trap again. Now if you observe, the ones that do not have space at this point were no longer highlighted. But then, so I'll keep using my space trap, then my text trap. So with this, every other information that's not relevant is not highlighted. So now we have just check-in highlighted. If you scroll down, the next subdivision, account receivable, is highlighted as well. So you have this, and then would proceed. Now, so then the next thing you do, you highlight your C, and you have this. Now we can extend it beyond this, because of other subdivisions, such that those other subdivisions are highlighted as well. So we have that. Now we'll name it, okay, account type. Oh, okay. And then the next thing we'll do is to save the layer. Now, after saving the layer, you could preview to see how it will look like by the time you bring it in. So now if you observe account type, you have check-in, and then you have spaces before the next subdivision, which is utilities and what have you. Albeit, since all these initial transactions fall under check-in, we want the same value of check-in to reflect, showing that all these were under check-in. So I will close this and I'll go back. So I just click on this check-in here, and then blank cells under these attributes to your right, attributes, blank cells. I'll click, there's a drop down there. So once I click on it, it gives me an option to use value from previous record. So once I select use value from previous record, so now if we preview, we'll get to see how it's being affected. So we see that now all of them that falls under check-in have check-in assigned to it. All those that falls under payables, GST, HST payables, has GST, HST payables assigned to it. Then the next thing I can do is to save template. Now this save template is important because by the time we are saving this template, what it does is such that if you have other files such as this that you want to bring in subsequently, you don't need to start doing all these, setting the traps for those subsequent files. With this template, all you need to do is just open up this template and load those other ones, and automatically they will come in the way you've defined it in this template. So in case somebody was thinking that, must I go through all this stress? What if I have multiple files that are similar like this? Like I have accounts to be brought in virtually every month. Would I now have to go to this stress? No. As long as it's in the same format, once you've done the very first one and you save this template, by the time you're bringing other ones, you don't have to do this. You just open up this template and then you bring in those other ones for your analysis and you are good to go. So yes, sample file, and I save. I already have it prior to this time, so that's why you have that. So once I save, the next final step is to click on this arrow, import into IDEA. So once I do this and I select yes to load it in, okay, how do I want to name it? Do I want it to be named as sample file or whatever name I want to give to it? So, but we'll just go with the default name, sample file, for the purpose of this webinar, and then I click finish. So once I click finish to load and then bring it in. So please just wait a little while that is loading. Okay, so we've brought this in, and then we can now begin to carry out analysis. And bring in is a PDF. No, PDFs are virtually these days. We have documents being uploaded in PDF format. We have bank statements being sent across in PDF format, and what have you. So we want to be able to see how we can import data from PDF. Now this particular PDF is it's okay. Before we get to that, so we'll select print report on Adobe PDF, and then click on the three dots by the side. Now we are bringing in ED customer comments complete, and I'll tell us why, and we'll get to see why rather. So I'll not just tell us, we get to see why. That's the file we are bringing in. Now you click on next. Once you click on next, it loads your report reader where you get to specify what particular informations you want. Now, so while that is loading up, sometimes when we have PDFs with multiple lines. At other times, we have PDFs that are not just, the information are not just contained in just one line. Other times, you have them running in 2, 3, 4 lines and what have you. So this particular PDF, like we'll see now once it loads up, has values running in multiple lines. And we want to see how we can bring that in as well. So peradventure, you have a PDF document and then the values are running in line. Beautiful. So we have this. Okay, so now if you can observe, you have this, you have this. This is a single line. But then by the time you come down here, you see that this is 2 lines. Like the information here under the comment section is in 2 lines. But then if you come here, you see here that the information contained here is not just in 2 lines, but rather is in 6 lines. So how do we get to bring in information such as this? Because they are relevant for your information. Lest we forget that data analysis is not just all about number. There is the qualitative data analysis that has to do with words, text analysis, how you can analyze feedbacks that are contained in words, in writings, without it having to do with number, and also the quantitative parts that we are most familiar with that has to do with the numbers. So now, don't forget, I said the first thing we'll do is to select a base layer or create a standard layer, which is like the foundation on which we now erect the structures. To do that, you come and you highlight the first line with the information you need. It will ask you, and then you click on yes. So once you've done that, the next thing we need to do is to set a trap. And what does the trap mean? What does it do? The trap is more like saying it specifies or gives that instruction that says highlight every information that meets this condition or this trap I'm setting. So in this case, we can come here and then number a numeric trap. Because it starts with a number 4 here. But now, if you observe, virtually every information that starts with a number is highlighted. Every information that starts with a number is highlighted. So we come here, and then the next thing we begin to do is to define a field. So I highlight this, just extend it a little, and then you name this field as location. So it's assuming it's the idea behind this document is that these are feedbacks from various locations of a firm. So I come to the next field here and I highlight this. And now I name this as date. Data types, I'll select date. And once I select date, the mask becomes active. Now what the mask does is to ask you what format is the date contained, in what format. So in this we see that it's DD, that's date, 2 numbers for the date, followed by a slash. Because MM for the month, followed by a slash, then Y for the year, contained in 4 digits. So I come here, the next, and I highlight this. Now this is time, so I name this as time. What data type is it? It's a time. And so it will also ask me, for mask. So the mask would be HH, that is hours first, followed by colon, minutes, followed by colon, seconds. So for some information, it might be the other way around. Seconds, minutes. So in whatever way it is presented, that's how the marks would be. Now, you come here, the next, and would like this. I will name this as comment. And then this as category. So what this means is that there are categories for the feedback. Oh, is it food related? Is it staff related? Is it as a result of this or that? So that stands for the category. The next is to save your layer. Now we can now preview. Once you preview, you get to see how it will look like when it is brought into IDEA. So please just give me a minute. So you have this location, date, time, comment, and category. But then we'll see that some of the comments are not complete. Like this number 12 here, you have, hi, I would like to apply for a incomplete sentence. Like this number 8, the burgers don't taste, these are incomplete sentence. So how do we ensure that? Because for these ones, not all these informations were brought in since they were on multiple lines. So how do we fix this? I click on this comment and I come to this, to the right attributes. Multiple lines by default is on no, but I'll click on yes. So now if we observe, now multiple lines, yes, end field on. So where should it stop? So I come here and I say define field. So now I can preview and get to see the information as well. Let's see how it will look like. So while the preview comes up, we get to see how it will look like by the time we are bringing it into IDEA. So please just give me a minute. Okay, so now we get to see there that it has brought in other informations as well. That's brought in like this number 8 that was incomplete the other time. Now it's complete. The burgers don't taste the same. However, if you observe, like this number 9, I really love this new concept. Full stop. And now the next word, give this manager a raise, is clustered. If you look at record number 15, why can't I bring my dog? Between the dog and the inside, you have so much space. So we just need to fix this quickly. And how do we do that? So you're right, under these few details, under these attributes, you will see space to one and we'll select yes. So what this means is that where you have sentences, ensure that the space between both of them, like it's just one space. So you don't have excess or you don't have a shortage. So for that one that does not have space, this will ensure that there's space after the full stop and the next sentence is starting. And where you have too much space, this will ensure that the space is reduced to just one. So the next thing we'll do, if you preview once again, you get to see it that, oh, it's now corrected. You have the space corrected, and everything is now okay. Now that we've confirmed that it's okay, well, you could scan for error to be sure. There was no error. Beautiful. And then the next thing is to save your templates. Now, don't forget that we explained earlier on that when you save your templates, it allows you to start that by the time you're bringing other files that are similar, probably this is something you do on a monthly basis. So if you are bringing other files that still contains the same information, for other months, you don't have to go through this whole stress of having to define, set your trap, highlight this. You just use this your template and you bring it in. So I click on save, and once that is saved, I click on import into idea. So I've actually selected and said these are the informations I need. Now bring it into idea. So I click on finish. If I want to rename, I can as well rename, but then we're not renaming. So finish, and so once I click on the finish, it loads it up and brings it into idea. Okay, so you have this brought in already. Now the next file, or we'll be bringing in, is we'll be getting a file from a database, and that's because idea is able to connect to your database. So peradventure, where you are, you have a database and you like, or a server you would like to be pulling data from for your analysis. You can do that using your idea. Peradventure, there's an ERP there and you want to pull data from your ERP for your analysis. You can do that using idea. And how do we go about that? So you click on home and you click on import. So once you click on import, we'll select the ODBC option. Now ODBC is an abbreviation that stands for Open Database Connectivity. It's like a feature that allows idea to have a handshake with your database, with your server, with your ERP, in order to pull out the data you need for you to carry out your analysis. So the next thing here, we'll click on next. So once I click on next, by default there are some ODBC drivers extensions that came with it. Oh, is it from a DBase? A DBase is a database. You want to get that from? Is it Excel files from a database? Is it MS Access database you want to get? Now, if you want to pull from an ERP that's not listed here, what you do is to click on create an ODBC data source and fill in the relevant information, the name, the type, as well as the DNS information. So what the DNS information does, it's more like for most database servers, they are passworded such that they are guarded. So the DNS allows you, gives you like a login details for you to log in into that to log in and pull information from there. But in this case, we're working with an MS Access database. So by the time you click on your MS Access database, we'll click on next. So we want to pull information from an Access database. So I click on next now after selecting your MS Access database. So after clicking on next, it loads up another interface that allows me select the database I want. Oh, where is this Access database located? Now I have this database on my system. So what you have here, these directories are actually for on my system. So, oh, okay, I have this database somewhere on my system. So I'll have to look for it. Okay, here I have it. Now, since it's an Access database, observe the extension .accdb, that's Access database, and then I'll click on OK. Now, this tells me the information that, oh, this database you've selected actually contains just one table. Oh, what type is it? It is a table. What are the numbers of table that you have there? It's just one. So that's why you have tables found one. If you have more than one tables, then tables found will reflect the number of tables you have there. Then I click on next. Now, before I click on next, you see this refresh tab tables here. That peradventure, this database has been updated. So if it has been updated and I had already brought it in before, so once I do this and I click on refresh, it will automatically update now to the number of tables that I have there. So that's what the refresh tables button is there for. So in this case now, I'll click on next. Okay, so what's the name of the database? Database one, I could rename it to what I want it to be. Do we get? Or we could just have this as this. So we could just say purchase database, or we'll leave it at what you have there. And then you click on finish. And then, okay, so once I click on finish, it will load it up. And after loading it up, to bring it into IDEA, and you have that information brought in, you have from that database pulled into your IDEA. So now that you have your information here, you can now begin to carry out your analysis. Don't forget, this webinar is tailored to, it's bespoke to you being able to bring in various data types into IDEAs. We'll have subsequent webinars where you get to see, okay, carry out particular analysis, and okay, what kind of analysis can you carry out? And so would keep in touch and would really love you to keep attending. It's just once a month to keep attending our webinars. I think at this point I will take questions. So please, if you have questions, feel free to unmute and ask your question while I stop sharing my screen. So please, if you have questions, feel free to. Okay, please, yes, please go ahead, ask your questions. Yes, Mr. Shay, please go ahead, ask your question.
Hello.
Yes, hello, good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, can we use this for heavy data, like 30,000 set of data?
Yes.
Because I look at what we have been doing, they are not actually heavy data. Can we actually apply it for heavy data, like a data of
Yes.
30,000, 40,000?
Yes, you can actually use it for data that runs up into millions.
Into millions?
Yes, you can into millions. So if you have data that has up to 1 million records on it, more than 1 million, yes, you can bring it in. It's not limited in terms of the number of records, like for the data you can bring in.
Hello, morning.
Good morning, sir.
Can you hear me? Okay, my name is Bambile.
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Bams.
Yeah. Yes, sometimes ago, I think it should be about 2 years now, we subscribed to IDEA. Yes, though we didn't get to use it so much, but then I think it's for 1 year period expiry. I think, if I'm wrong, you may correct me. Which I feel is a lot too small a period for a software that costs almost €1 million. And to be sincere with you, just one user, and since that time, we have not renewed the license. So I don't know. I would like to know the current price, because what I'm saying this is that when I discover how expensive it is, so we have to go for AbleBit, which could do most of what I do. So I'm interested, but I would like to know how much it costs to subscribe now. For
Okay.
If it's worth it or not.
Okay. Like you rightly said, it's a 1 year renewal. So when you get it, it lasts for a year, and then you get to renew the license.
Funny enough, I didn't even get it because I was still at the stage of even getting used to the system before. So it's almost like a waste of money.
Okay. I understand, and I'm sorry for that. Okay, so this is what we do. So you could just drop your your email address or something, then we'll contact you, we'll reach out to you, or your phone number, we'll reach out to you, and we'll find a way to go about that, such that you are able to get value from the software, while it's also a win-win for both of us. Okay, yes, Ms. Lois wants to add something to that.
Mr. Bams, thank you very much for your interest in the software. And I'm really sorry that you could not take advantage of the value of the software before it timed out. Usually, sometimes, I'm not saying that's what happened in your case. Sometimes what happens is some people go ahead to get the software before they have an active project that would need it. And of course, because it is a 1-year rental license, the license from the point of issue starts counting. So by the time you're having the project to use it, it gets to the point where you need to where it times out and you don't reap the returns on your investments. However, if, for instance, you're anticipating a project that would use the software, it's usually best to start with making sure the project is in, and in the meantime, start the training. You can actually train on a free license because IDEA comes with a provisional license of 15 days, and the 15 days is more than adequate to equip you to get familiar with the license and to go through all the training levels that will help you to use the software. So once you now get trained and the project is active, immediately you are moving from class to field. And with us by your side, you are getting the returns on your investment such that by the time your renewal is due, it is the project that will fund the renewal. You're not going to get it from your private source. You're going to have the project for which the license was purchased funding it, because immediately you start getting returns on your investment. Like Victor said in his presentation, we focused on the import part. You know that after import, even before you know what to do with your data, IDEA can intuitively discover areas that you could give attention to. And by the time you are giving your client value, he gets more interested and you get to expand the use of the software for the client and for others. So we are very confident that as the price of the software is, it is still relatively better than others, and it is value for money. So you're actually going to get returns on investment. So we'll be happy to work with you to see how you can come back on board and ensure that you reap the returns on investment.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. So please, are there other questions? Do we have other questions? Okay, if you have any other question, please, you could unmute yourself and ask your question.
I think I saw Leonard's hand raised at some point. Okay,
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Nayo.
Okay, Mr. Nayo, please go ahead. Ask your question. Yes, Mr. Nayo, you can go ahead, please. Please unmute yourself. Okay,
You don't think you are playing with him.
You are not muted.
I think she preferred to drop a message, so I don't know if she had done that.
Oh. Okay. Can you get a recording? Yes, you can get a recording at the end of the. In fact, thank God you raised it up. You can watch this recording. It will be uploaded on our YouTube page. So it will be uploaded on all our social media handles, on Instagram, on our Telegram channel. So I will drop our social media handles right now, so you can go there and follow, and then you could watch previous webinars we've had as well. And then also get to see, we have some tutorials there as well, even on our website. So I will drop all our handles right now so you can, at your convenience, go and see them. So thank you for that question. Let me drop them now. Okay, so not just for him, it's here on the chat. So please feel free to check them out, like, follow, and then get value for usage, such that you go there and then you're learning even beyond just today's webinar as well. Then our website is peerconsulting.net. On our website we have on our website, there's a tutorial section, you have the webinar section. So you have our other social media handles, the Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Telegram. So you just click on them, or you could copy them and paste them in your browser and explore them, like, follow us, and then today's webinar will be uploaded there. And so on your convenience, or at your convenience rather, you could watch them, refreshing your memory, yourself, and enjoy it. So thank you very much, Mr. Nayo, for that. Do we have more questions? We are already 12 minutes behind. It was scheduled for 1 hour. That's 10 to 11, but then we started 5 minutes past 10. So if there are no more questions, I would like to say a big thank you to every one of you for making out time to be part of this, because this wouldn't have held without you. So thank you for clearing out your schedule and making out time to be part of the schedule. So I'll hand over to Lois. I think she has something to say.
Yes. So to create anticipation for the next webinar, come May, get ready. Whenever you are done with your analytics, you need to automate it so that it can be efficient in your report generation and acting and making decisions. So the next webinar is going to deal with the different automation opportunities you have in IDEA and how you can work with it and ensure that you can become efficient with your reporting skills and your programming skills. It's going to be a very interesting one. I encourage you to talk to your colleagues, whether they're IDEA users or not, because at the end of the day, it will further expand your knowledge. Thank you so much for your time. And please remember to check our website for additional helpful information on our software IDEA and other software that might be of use to you or your colleagues. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, I think with that, we'll call it a day for today. Bye, everyone, and
Bye.
enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye. Thank you.